The Palace of Speedway. Early on in this race.
The Spec-5 World Tour rolls on to Fuji Speedway after the opening round. Round 2 comes to us from Japan and the high-speed front straight and circuit, occasionally known to host Formula One World Endurance Championship and also an absolute mainstay of Japanese domestic racing series. I think it's a beautiful day here in Japan, 22 Celsius for the air temperature, a little warmer on the track. We'll see how that goes throughout qualifying and the race for the 45-minute race. This MX5 Cup League on iRacing, taking these cars all around the world and putting on some really, really close racing as they do. We're bringing you live coverage of all of it here on HJBC. I'm David Haynes with Devin Peters, Michael Derby in the production with the pictures, the graphics, and the replays. Devin, how you doing?
I was doing really well today, David. I gotta say, until I learned that Australia does not have a quarter. And I really think that it's going to ruin my entire qualifying session and maybe my day. Can you explain yourself, sir?
No, but I'm furiously Googling Japanese currency right now because I know they use the yen, and like 100 yen is like a cheap can of drink, and 200 yen is like an expensive can of drink, and maybe like 500, 800 yen is like a snack or dinner or something. So I don't know what kind of coins they're exactly rocking with. Oh yeah, here we go. We got 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, and 500 yen coins. So is that okay? There's no 25 yen coin. You're not gonna, flip a gasket over that?
I'll accept it as long as I can pay for my track days in yen. And I might be able to at some tracks, but I have a feeling that the Fuji Grand Prix layout is probably a little bit more than that. That's where we're going to see these speedy little hatchbacks racing today, or drifting today.
Coupes, convertibles even.
Coupe is one of those things, yeah.
I think you can buy spoon engines and overnight parts from Japan in yen if that's the kind of performance you're after. But what we're seeing right now is the 4-lap, 15-minute qualifying session. And as has been quite evident, building the tyre pressure is not the work of a moment. It looked like Simon Foweather was doing a little Tokyo drift there. And Mitchell Peake, your fellow national, is weaving down, or was weaving down the front straight, trying to build a little bit of tyre temperature before the first of 4 attempts at a flying lap. If there's a particular driver you want to follow along with during this session, HJBC.live has the live timing. And so if they're not on screen, you can still keep up to date with their position, lap times, and into the race, their pit stop times.
Yeah, it's quick little lap around here, but a very long straightaway out front. If you've never been to Fuji, or you've never seen the track, it's an interesting little thing. Got quite a little history. Originally conceived as an oval with this zany long front straightaway. It eventually was turned into this interesting little road course, and I think we're all glad to get to watch cars turn both left and right around here today.
Other than Motegi, you know any Japanese ovals? Tsukuba feels like a bit of an oval at times. It's kind of got one left-hand corner, the rest of them right-hand corner.
Yeah.
Across this, there was a few different layouts here. None of them oval at Fuji, but this one, that sort of Grand Prix chicane there, you can see there is a direct cut-through pass-through that does get used. Not uncommonly, both on iRacing but also real-world racing. There's a weird little bump there if you do take that layout. So the characteristics of this circuit: really long front straight into a hairpin turn 1. It's a little more open, a little more flowing through the second sector, and then this final sector, and that final corner there for Ronnie Coates and Camden Hibbett is a bit challenging. So your exit off that final corner, you'd say, is pretty critical, but it's twisty all the way to that.
Yeah, it's kind of got 3 distinct sections. You know, the really fast front straightaway, and the run down into the Coca-Cola corner there, and then the flowing kind of left-right bit through the middle, and then you get those really twisty turny bit at the end. Starting to see some of our first laps come through here. Camden Hibbett puts a fast one up on the board, a 59.5 to start things off.
Yep. Hibbett Motorsports driver, apparently Andrew Gilliland and some others are on his new team for this season. Also plenty of Team Esport Racer drivers out there as well. Or at least Andrew Gilliland's in cooperation with Camden Hibbett. 2 very young but very talented drivers, both of them racing Mazdas in the real world, both in Spec Miata and also Spec MX-5 this coming season, I do believe, for Camden Hibbett. Or something. He's doing some stuff.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. And of course, he showed his pace in last season, the season 14 champion. Camden Hibbett was, and Andrew Gilliland following into his footsteps. Another young driver. We're following along with him today. He had a pretty decent first race, finishing second place to Orlando Harold, narrowly at the line at Daytona there. But he's hoping he'll be able to do one better today. And with Orlando not on the grid yet tonight, I like... Orlando just hasn't put in a qualifying lap yet. But I like his odds of that.
Here he is to the end of the lap here. First lap might have been eliminated due to off tracks for Orlando Herald. So for you drivers, you notice there is plenty of runoff around here on the modern version of Fuji Speedway. Orlando Herald goes to 20th out right there. Not a super competitive time, but a lap that counts, which I think is relatively important. Camden Hibbett remains at the top of qualifying for the moment. Eugenio Pellicci is second and going quite quickly. He's now going to get bumped down as a flurry of other laps come across, but Pellicci is just sort of half a lap behind all those drivers, so he'll catch up on this one if it's an improvement. Another place there that you've got to be mindful of the track limits.
Yeah, and that's going to be a theme, I think, all the way around here. We heard quite a stern reminder in the drivers' meeting of the 20x limit, and easy enough to get some off tracks here with the amount of curb that is available for use, and we see all of it getting used there by Eugenio as he's tracking out. Switching now to Michael Chase, see if he's able to put in another fast one. He's coming in here through 100R into the hairpin. And you see him, he really has to jump that inside curb to try and make the car work through there. Get a tighter line than normal through 300R, I think, with a car that doesn't quite have all the pace of a Formula One car.
And then big braking here, and this is where it starts twisty, gets twisty, stays twisty, lots of changes of direction. Go-kart stuff through here. You go through the 3 corners there, and then immediately you're into another sort of 90-degree hairpin left, hairpin right part of this for Michael Chase. Eugenio Pollicci has usurped him at the top, and this lap time could be an improvement for Michael Chase, might not be. Camden Hibbett's also on a really, really hot one. Purple sector, first sector, purple sector, second sector. And so Michael Chase will get to the line, but not too far behind him. I think Camden Hibbett is tracking for pole. Drivers get 4 laps in this session. Is that the 3rd done for these drivers? Or is that the 4th done?
Should be the 3rd done for most of our drivers, depending on when they started, of course.
Hibbett drops a couple of tenths in the final sector to his personal best, but
Quick.
still goes to the top of the field. So he doesn't need a purple in the first or the second sector now. He just needs to not drop 3 tenths in the final sector, and he can still improve on that one. There are some other drivers who will attempt to improve. Eugenio Pollicci's backed out of that one. James Newell, no improvements here on 5th. You wouldn't be surprised to see drivers maybe go attack lap 1, attack lap 2. Lap 3, if it's not coming together, just back off, cool it down a little bit for that final of 4 laps. So if lap 3 is not tracking an improvement by about the halfway around that lap, I wouldn't be surprised to see some drivers just cool off the tyres a little bit, maybe if the rears are getting a bit hot.
Yeah, it's warm track out there, 87 Fahrenheit under the sun today. So the tires could be feeling it, that's for sure. Michael Coates coming across the line here. He's currently in 7th. We'll see if he's able to make it a little better this time. Doesn't manage to improve that time by, but he's got one more to do it with.
On another hot one, Camden Hibbett. He's in the 5th sector now. He's been purple through 1, purple through 2. And if it just brings it together in the final sector here without any big slides or mistakes, this is going to be potentially half a second quicker than the lap time that already has him on pole, a 1:59.074. It's just full throttle to the line for Camden Hibbett on his final qualifying lap. How much in the 1:58s is this lap going to go? He's already the top pro. The timing line a long way down the straight.
Ooh,
1:58.7.
Very nice from him. Got a couple more coming across the line. We'll see if any of them can get it. Michael Chase crossed the line. Doesn't manage to improve this time. Ronnie Coates takes the exit road, hits the pit lane. James Newell's coming off the final corner. Newell had a 58.7 of his own in practice, and he's gone green through the first 2 sectors. So if he's going real quick in this final sector, he might have something to say about this just yet.
Have a look there. An improvement to 3rd place, so not bad.
Yeah.
But it's still 4 tenths away from pole. Just absolutely dominant first and second sector from Camden Hibbett.
Yeah. Gareth Brocklesby crosses the line with his 4th lap. That puts him 2nd place in open class. Our fastest qualifier in open is Andrew Gilland with the 2:002. And Gareth running a 0:393 there. And Ray Lombardi out on track, as usual, getting his late start to qualifying. Running a slightly different livery than last week, too, I think.
Possibly.
Yeah, not quite as shiny. Last one was a little more metallic than this one. Still looking good, though, in that car.
Yeah, this lap is going well for him, and it's his final lap of qualifying as well. Almost everyone else looks done except for Charles Vaccaro, perhaps. So Ray Lombardi really is a long run from that final corner to the timing line to where Barney has the checkered flag. I wonder if we'll see some last lap passes. You know, there are some circuits like Monza, for example. You come out of the final corner, timing line comes up very quickly. Here, that is not the case. Ray Lombardi goes to 5th with his final effort in qualifying. Vaccaro, again, one of those other drivers we said was a little on a different run plan here. And 2 tenths dropped in the first sector, just crossing the timing line in the second sector, 7 tenths down to his best there. So this is already about a second off Vaccaro's best lap, and that doesn't help at all, does it?
Whew.
He pulls it up just before the wall. But it
was...
goes to show you have a little bit of a slide. You end up offline there. You get some of that curbing, and it's pretty nasty.
Seeing here now, Alex Theologus, new to the series, running in the pro class this year. He's I think most familiar with the guys in the Spec-5 series from the Deep Dive MX-5 Discord. Of course, source for a lot of different MX-5 series, and a place where a number of people found out about this one. And he's gonna head back to the pits. So I think that was maybe an off track there that slowed him down. And with that, I think we may have seen our final runner.
This says Theologus comes from the ancient Greek, meaning one who talks about the gods. Interesting.
That's actually what my last name means.
Does it? Okay.
Figure it's a good commentator name. I don't know.
My name, I'm not sure, means much of anything. What have you done, Devin? What have you done? We've got a minute left to qualifying, but it looks like everyone has reached the end of their laps before they've reached the end of the clock, as is how it normally happens. So I think we can lock in the grid. It's displaying correctly now, so let's get through it. Camden Hibbett, Michael Chase, James Newell, and Eugenio Pellicci as the first 2 rows. Ray Lombardi, David Barkley, Otis Adams Jr., Ronnie Coates, Michael Coates, Brian Jabelski as the top 10 all-pro class drivers to that point, and then continues with Simon Foweather, Zach Burke, Mitchell Peake, Rui Coimbra, Sean Hayes. Open class pole sitter is Andrew Gilliland. Then there's Geordie Fike. Gareth Brocklesby is open class second, Matthew White third in that class. Then Alex Theologus, Alex Harrison, Orlando Harrell, and Charles Vaccaro. The blue stripe underneath the position indicator is an open class driver. The red stripe is a pro driver, and the different car number colorings is some people are supporters of the league, and thank you to them because they make this broadcast possible.
Yeah, not only that, but they also make sure that there's wonderful prizes that go out for this series as well. So some cool trophies going out to folks, putting them up on the wall. It's just like the real thing, but you don't have to go and get sweaty out in Fuji. You get to have the trophy mailed to you. And as the session churns over here, we start to see guys taken to the grid. We've got Michael Chase lining up there. Beautiful HJ logo on Alex Harrison's car there, just for a second.
They also get to select some of the tracks, vote in an entirely democratic election with more votes as well. So their opinion,
just like the real thing.
Yeah, more money gets you more votes, baby. So Fuji, if I'm scrolling back here correctly, was one of the circuits picked by one of the supporters. And you can see our grid behind the pace car right now. So our front couple of roads, 45 minutes of racing ahead of us. A compulsory pit stop as well. I was hearing some interesting things about the pit entry here. It's a long way down the straight. It's got a chicane in the entry. It's tight with some walls. It's Zandvoort's pit entry on steroids, perhaps mixed with a little bit of Bathurst potentially. So we'll keep an eye on that. Not sure the pit exit is quite so challenging. It's just straight out to the inside. What?
Oh!
Is that a hardware failure from the pole setter Camden Hibbett? His car is in the wall on the formation lap. What on earth have we just seen at Fuji? An amazing performance in qualifying from Camden Hibbett, and on the formation lap, his car drives straight into the wall.
Huh. I've got nothing for it. Well, we'll watch the pace car come in. We'll watch this getting started, but it just turned right and went in the wall.
Is going to have a pit lane start with some technical issues. He's got to sort all of that out. It elevates some of these other drivers up some positions. How about James Newell, who suddenly becomes the pole sitter as his line moves forward? The pace car heads to that pit entry. We await on Barney to wave the green flag in Japan, but the pole sitter will not start from pole. Instead, it will be third place qualifier James Newell in his position. Green flag is still not waving yet. Maybe has iRacing gotten confused because of the pole sitter? Now it waves the green flag. We get going. A shorter run down towards the hairpin turn one. Michael Chase will be counting his lucky stars. So will James Newell. So will Eugenio Polici. And we'll see if our pole sitter is able to join all the field heading downhill towards the big braking zone. There is a massive check-up. I think I see Geordie Fike maybe coming to a complete stop there and then getting rear-ended, but no one turned around, and Michael Chase leads this race. Camden Hibbett is 23rd, but has left pit exit.
Yeah, only damage, real damage I see is a missing bumper from Camden Hibbett and a cracked one on Matthew White's car after making some contact there at the rear end of the field with Geordie Fike. But after spreading out 4 wide into turn number 1, they're down to single file heading into the hairpin.
Long sweeping corners of the early part of the lap are a challenge on cold tyres, but they really should help the drivers build temperature also on a track that is gaining temperature as we go as well. So everyone basically gains a free position out of the pole sitter starting from the pits because of the mishap on the formation lap. But David Barclay's also managed to make an extra one. Presumably not related to the basketball guy on television, but it's possible.
Hey, you never know.
Motorsport would be way cooler if it had a show like that.
Have to work on it. And we see them all just squirming around as they go through this third section of the lap here, where it's really tight and twisty. Those tires still not quite up to temp yet.
Otis Adams runs so wide, he's actually picked up a slowdown penalty. So the driver currently in 6th place is going to have to pull offline. We're taking a look a little further up the field. But yeah, he's going to drop back a whole chunk of positions. Here he is offline, rolling out of the throttle, trying to give up that slowdown penalty from running all the way wide through the runoff on the final corner. And it is really costly. A freight train of MX-5s getting past him. Around the outside of him is Andrew Gilliland, the open class leader right now. Looks like Adams will just... Oh, no, Adams still might end up behind this. It's single file out front of all of this, but we've got a bit of battling happening in behind here. Gilliland going to defend the inside to claim that position.
Big first lap for Gilliland. He's up 5 positions as we round 100R right now. One of our biggest movers so far. The other biggest mover, well, that'd be Zach Burke. Yeah, that's right. The Canadian Zach Burke. Up 5 positions on the first lap, and he's running just ahead of Michael Coates here as we carry on down. We'll see. Things are pretty smooth out in the front, but they're a little more action back in the field. Looks like Gareth Brocklesby is trying to make it too wide on Sean Hayes. He gets the door slammed shut as they go into the Dunlop corner there.
Yeah, that's the battle you see. Is that leopard print? How do you describe that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a fine leopard indeed.
So I think the way we're looking, the run off the final corner is pretty important.
I thought for a moment that Gareth Brocklesby was getting it wrong, but I think he got it all kinds of right. He really diamonded the entry nicely and got a real straight line.
The driver pulling out of line. Otis Adams Jr. up there, back on Andrew Gilliland, trying to work his way back through the field. So he's looking down the inside of turn number 1, and he's most of the way up the inside as well. So that looks like it's almost already done by the time we arrive here at the hairpin turn 1. Track drops away right as you're turning in, right at the apex.
Tricky little corner, that one. Almost not able to make it stick, but he does.
But the Audi Sport banners, soon to be a historical artifact. We'll be telling kids of future generations Audi used to make sports cars, and they won't believe us.
A little busy back further in the pack. Theologus in 17th place is holding off a little challenge from Jordy Fike behind and trying to find his way around Rory Coimbra. Nice wide track here at Fuji. Kind of gives you the opportunity to run a few different lines and make them all work. Rory is going to get a little bit of breathing room here as Theologus backs up, but don't go back too far, Theologus, because Jordy is right on his bumper thinking about how to make a move.
I've just realized a trauma that was sitting deep in my brain that I hadn't acknowledged. I'd suppressed it so far. Mark Webber was on track for his first F1 win here when he got rear-ended on a safety car. It is a tricky track. We're seeing some of that play out right here. Traction out of the slow corners with just this annoying little bit of elevation change. No great mountains around here other than Mount Fuji itself. But there's just a little elevation through some of these corners where you're like, that's descending, that's ascending. Car wants to get loose there. And we're seeing that start to play out as the tyres come in and then maybe warm up through the final few sectors.
I thought you were referencing the fact that Camden Hibbett had another half spin on those cold tires. He's recovered it now, kept it off the wall, but now he's even further back than he was before. They're too wide heading down the front straight here, though.
Took me decades to make peace and bury the hatchet with my hate against Sebastian Vettel after he rear-ended Mark Webber under safety car. I think I'm cool with him now. I think he's an all right dude now. For a while, I did not feel that. So yeah, battling through the open class here as well.
Yeah, Harrison and Theologus made their way past Jordy. Made their way past Harrison and Fike made their way past Theologus. There we go. I got it out of my mouth.
Yeah, fantastic. So Andrew Gilliland, comfortable lead in open class. Gareth Brocklesby, pretty comfortable in second. He's up the road from this battle, fighting with some other drivers. It's for third right now in open class, where Alex Harrison has Alex Theologus between himself and Charles Vaccaro, and Orlando Herald is hanging on to the back of this one in the solid black car. And Gareth Brocklesby, I'm not sure he's quite happy with second in his class, because he's still behind Sean Hayes, Brian Jabelski, monstering them somewhat.
Yeah, it's always tough here in the Spec-5 series with the points working the way they do. You're racing not just your class, you're racing everyone on track. The further you can get up the field as the open class leader, the more pro class cars you can put behind you, the more action, the more points you're going to get for yourself. Ooh, a little bit of busyness in the final corner there. Mitchell Peak was side by side with Simon Fullweather coming onto the front straight, but he put the thing real sideways as he jumped the inside the curve, and he's going to be under threat here from Otis Adams.
Yeah, when you know you've got such a critical traction zone out of the final corner onto such a long straight, to see the drivers side by side there was very interesting, and it hasn't worked out for Mitchell Peak to have a dive at that opportunity. Here's Adams alongside the leader. Michael Chase also took the field for a weave down towards the pit wall. Some drivers followed, some didn't. It's led to a little more conflagration down in towards the braking zone of turn 1, particularly, I think, behind David Barkley there with Michael Coates and Zach Burke side by side. So Chase still leading from James Newell, Eugenio Polici as our top 3, Ray Lombardi, Ronnie Coates, but it's behind that the excitement is beginning.
Can't help but feel a little bit of a flashback here after watching Daytona's race last week. Ronnie Coates just sitting in 5th place. I wonder if he'll end up in the podium at the end of all this. This is a guy who knows how to manage his way around a race, to manage some fuel consumption too.
So there's not more than a 1 second gap to be found anywhere between 1st and 13th place. So Mitchell Peak brings up the tail of this leading group at the moment. They work their way through this change of direction. It's sort of uphill at that first right-hand and downhill through the left, flattens off a little bit here. And then you're climbing, dropping away, track's cambered into the left, but then tightens up.
Yeah, really, really beautiful use of the undulating countryside over here. Otis Adams slides a bit wide. Bet you got an off track for that one. Hopefully it wasn't a slowdown.
Gilliland has a slowdown as I look to check for see if Adams has got one. So I'm not sure where he's been off. It says he hasn't served it yet. It says it's still there. Still a furled black flag for the number 16 of Andrew Gilliland. He's
Must have been a close
straight.
call. Yeah, I'm watching back the replay and I'm not seeing it, so.
I hope I'm not seeing dubious information here. It should be legit. He's dropping back now. Gilliland's dropping back now, and it's cleared. Michael Chase and perhaps James Newell also, again, leading the field in a snake pattern down the front straight. No changes there.
Yeah, but definitely 2 separate packs now. The pro class field at the front has broken away, and with that penalty to Andrew Gilliland slowing him down, he's now got nearly 3 seconds between himself and that leading pack of 11.
And there's only 1 second between Andrew Gilliland and Gareth Brocklesby for the lead of open class at the moment, even if there's 2 cars in the middle there. So plenty happening right now. There's Gilliland with Hayes, Jabelski behind pro class drivers, and then open class driver Gareth Brocklesby.
A little wide there from Gilliland. He's too wide now as they come into 300R. Won't be for long though. Sean Hayes has a run, and I have a feeling that Sean Hayes wants to make a dive in this corner. He's giving a big push down the straightaway. Oh, and a tap in the braking zone. Unsteady there for Andrew Gilliland, but he manages to hold onto it under braking. Good car control there from Sean Hayes, though. It's tricky to get close enough to someone in iRacing to shake him up without sending him all the way around. Oh, way offline there. Way offline for Andrew Gilliland. It's going to cost him some time heading up into this critical braking zone.
No slowdown though, so he's just got to be so methodical with how he cracks the throttle through the final corner. Sean Hayes is still very close to him. Shabelski close behind that. Rui Coimbra ranging up onto the whole group. And then Alex Harrison's not too far behind. So there is suddenly a little bit of pressure on your open class leader, Andrew Gilliland. He's middle of the road. Sean Hayes has a great run and elects to bump. That is definitely interesting.
Yeah, they're often on the same piece of real estate, even though they race in different classes. And I guess today he decided defense, not offense, is the way to go. Oh, and a little bit of contact there. Brocklesby on Shabelski behind. And there was just some overlap as they were turning into the corner. Shabelski turns in a bit late, and Gareth Brocklesby actually catches him on the outside of the rear quarter panel.
This group's closing up as well, with Alex Harrison leading the next bunch of cars, being about a second a lap quicker on the last lap than Andrew Gilliland, who had a couple of those little bobbles. So yeah, here comes Harrison, bringing Theologus, Vaccaro, Fike, Orlando Herald. Canton Hibbert, I'm not sure what's going on with his pace. It's not...
Yeah, it's not quite all the way back.
He's really still suffering some issues.
Yeah, I wonder if if he had a full repair. Anyway, let's jump back to the lead. It's getting a little spicy up there.
Eugenio Polici's gotten past. No, yes, no. No, I'm looking in the wrong place. He's still there in third.
Yeah, Michael Chase is having to fight off James Newell, though, and things are starting to look a little bit interesting. We're on lap 7, and we were thinking before the race that the drivers might be able to pit as early as lap 7, depending on how they're running it. We did see a wide variety of fuel strategies last week at Daytona, and so we'll see if that repeats again today. James Newell right on the rear bumper of Michael Chase here, and they've got a little bit of a breakaway forming from Eugenio Polici.
Yeah, Newell is right with Michael Chase, who's staying on the line, left-hand side down the front straight, pushing him along as well. So single file, the field heads down into the braking zone of turn number 1 without too much transpiring that time down the straight. My dark horse here is Ronnie Coates in 5th.
Yeah, I kind of like. I like how he's playing it.
Just, you know, he's there, he's watching, he's 1.4 seconds away from the lead. He's undoubtedly saving fuel, but there's a drama deeper in the field. Gareth Brocklesby is around, and there has been drama in that pack around Andrew Gilliland, Brian Jabelski, Sean Hayes, and Gareth Brocklesby.
And that was tough. Yeah, Coimbra's on the inside and Brocklesby turns in, but there's like you know, a foot, 2-3 feet maybe of net code there. That's really unfortunate. Either way, it leads to Andrew Gilliland getting by, and we'll see the replay here. It's kind of hard to see from this camera angle, but when Brocklesby turns in, he comes right across the nose of Roy Coimbra. But like I said, a big gap between the two of them, and he ends up facing the wrong way when he tries to catch it.
Tiger can't change its stripes, but hopefully a Leopard can change its bumper. The pit window is open. A few cars have been through. Matthew White, Camden Hibbert critically, and Geordie Fike as well. We'll undoubtedly be seeing Brocklesby. I wonder if we'll get any others. And it means in this group, Vaccaro has dropped back. I think Theologus had to also take some avoiding action through all of that. So Harrison picked up a couple spots. Rory Coimbra has dropped behind the two Alexes.
Yeah, and the differential in pace between the lead pack and the second pack is pretty stark right now. We've got the top 11 running nearly 10 seconds ahead and about 2 seconds a lap faster than the guys behind.
James Newell makes the pass for the lead, having previously pushed Michael Chase down the pit straight. This time he goes to the inside, he makes the pass, and now Chase is right at his bumper, not square on to push him though. But we have a change for the lead as James Newell now leads.
Blinding reflection off the bumper of Michael Chase's car. The cars are starting to look like they're not loving this 100R right-hander here, though. They're having to lift pretty big to make it through.
Field drops into the next left-hander. And it's slim margins throughout this pack. I called it out previously. Ronnie Coates was sort of like in 5th place, 1.5 seconds away from the lead. He's now in 5th place, 0.8 seconds away from the lead, just 8 tenths. The gaps are closing up. Newell on a tight line on the way in there. The other drivers might try to cross over and get a better exit out of this complex. And you can see Michael Chase taking some very different lines to James Newell. Sometimes other drivers early on in the race will let you lead, but suddenly, you know, you get on this defensive, they think you're losing time, and yeah, you get voted off Survivor Island.
Yeah, and Michael Chase is doing a good job of kind of forcing James Newell into some uncomfortable positions by chasing him really far to the inside on the straightaways, that sort of thing. We'll see. He's got a few car lengths here coming onto the straight, and that's really where you'd like to be. Oh, and he dives into the pit lane early, does Michael Chase. So pitting, and critically pitting all alone by the looks of things. No drafting partner for him. I wonder how he'll make this work.
Will be very interesting. We're having a look at Sean Hayes, So he had Alex Harrison behind him coming into this sector. But, whoa, Alex
Move for the
Harrison
lead.
has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and while that was going on, Eugenio Polici in the braking zone behind James Newell hit the brakes and dived to the apex, overtaking James Newell cleanly. It was like James didn't even have a rear view mirror the way Polici was able to just dive in there and take that spot.
So a couple of changes for the lead now. Eugenio Polici going for the lead. Michael Chase still in the pit box, almost done. Rui Coimbra and Alex Theologus also have gone to pit, and there they go. Here goes Michael Chase.
Things are getting busier and busier at the front while Michael Chase comes out of that pit lane. Maybe he was starting to feel like that battle pack wasn't worth his time. They are trying all sorts of different lines through the back half of the track right now.
I think Chase pitting has set them off a little bit. It'll be good for Chase if they keep fighting at the front here.
Gotta wonder how many of them decide to drop in early as well. Long pit stop there relative to the pack. I'm guessing that this is a pretty high fuel consumption track.
In theory, Daytona should have been as well. Eugenio Polici has got the hammer down. He was a bit wide off the final corner. And now looks like James Newell is heading to pit lane. He brings the snake over that way, but most of them don't go with him. Polici now leads by a second over Ray Lombardi and Ronnie Coates in third. Coates looks like he's pulled out. So I think we've activated sleeper agent Coates, and he's going to push forward now. He's looking for what will become second place.
I like his odds up the inside here. He's holding it, and I think he's going to get it on the exit here. Manages to keep Ray Lombardi out wide. Good run here so far from Lombardi, though, on the outside, becoming the inside in this left-hander. Ultimately decides to drop it back in line, though, before they get to the apex of the Coca-Cola corner.
Yeah, Lombardi backed out of that one and has let a newly aggressive Ronnie Coates go to maybe close down the gap to Eugenio Polici and also cover off some of these other drivers. Long stop so far from James Newell. Really long stop. 22 seconds for Newell, while Chase was 16. Everyone else who's pitted was 16. So, again, you can see the pit stop times at hjbc.live, but James Newell, he might have overfueled that a little bit. Or maybe where he was in the pack early on, he needs it.
Did spend a lot of time out front. He definitely wasn't part throttle. That's for sure. You can see really that gap that Eugenio's managed to pull out and managed to mostly hold on to so far. He's still got 0.8 of a second between himself and the second place driver, Ronnie Coates. Gotta wonder though, we keep getting deeper and deeper. We're up to lap 11 now, and that's about the midway point, we'd think.
Yeah, we're approaching the midway point, which would be 22.5 minutes to go in a 45-minute race. Let's see what the lap times look like from Eugenio Polici, Ronnie Coates in this part of the race. Because I think, 59.1, not quite the fastest lap of the race just there for Ronnie Coates, but it's the fastest lap of anyone else on track this time around.
And Eugenio Polici showing off for Absolute Racing Team Esport there, his regular racing team. Very
sideways on his way in there. From this onboard view where the engine kill switch, etc., all that is, it's a custom panel in the race car where the infotainment normally is in the road car. And therefore, I think it's the only piece of carbon fiber inside these cup cars.
Ooh, fancy. Speaking of fancy, Otis Adams ran an interesting line there through 100R this time. I'm not sure if that was deliberate or not, but he had fully 2 and almost 3 tires on the grass on the inside as they were going through there. Keep an eye out for that one.
slightly diminished leading pack, having seen Michael Chase and James Newell pit, but it's still very, very close up here. And Ronnie Coates getting even closer to Eugenio Pellicci at the lead. This is the way into the final corner. It tightens and tightens and tightens to a late apex, and that is well wide from Eugenio Pellicci. Gets it back on the road without getting a slowdown penalty, but that is not optimal onto the front straight, so Ronnie Coates is mega closing in.
Busy in the back of the pack there, Brian Schabelsky is fighting for his life, trying to hold off Andrew Gilliland. Gilliland's going to do the over-under here, crossing him over, getting the side draft as we come onto the straightaway here. And the further down this road we go, the further Andrew Gilliland's going to draw alongside Brian Schabelsky here. And it looks like he's going to get the help from behind too. No, he's not. Orlando Harold's going to make it 3 wide as they come onto the straight here.
Okay, it's getting spicy in Japan. In the middle there, Andrew Gilliland's part of a sandwich with Zabelski to his left. Orlando Harold taking the double toe to get to the inside. The other drivers behind Harrison and Vaccaro close in. They both lift out. Harold pointing it straight to the apex. Zabelski trying to go round the outside. And there's a chance they swamp Gilliland, but he gets a good drive off the exit there and might just hold off Zabelski. Well, Orlando Harold goes ahead to the lead of the open class. While that was happening, Ronnie Coates went ahead to the lead of the pro class as well. We are lighting the burners on this one, and yeah, sleeper agent Ronnie Coates absolutely engaged.
Yeah, he's flying, and yeah, it's we gotta bet on different guys for the dark horse. Otherwise, I have to celebrate you winning, just like I am too, because Coates is showing off right now, looking pretty good. And you got to think that the early pit stops for the likes of Michael Chase and James Newell might not be paying off at this point, because not only are they 5 or 6 seconds apart on track, they're not lapping any faster than the guys at the front with that big old draft.
Yeah, Coates is flying right now.
Qualifying laps last time by 59.1 at the line. We'll see what it looks like this time with an overtake.
Yeah, the lap that he put the pass on Ray Lombardi was also still a really quick lap, even with that. So, yeah, he's gone from sitting in 5th, watching the lead, sitting in 5th, watching the lead, to giving it all right now. This is a view backwards from him to Pellicci. Pellicci just cracks it to 95% throttle. Therefore, Ray Lombardi's got a big run. He cracks the throttle as well to stay in line. This causes a bit of a checkup with Zach Burke. So they are still playing it rather tactical up front at the moment.
The 2 wide on the front straight. Charles Vaccaro's trying to get some overlap on Alex Harrison as they come down towards the first turn, and Andrew Gilliland's 2 wide, holding off or to making a move rather on Orlando Harold. He's got the inside, and I think he's going to get the corner at this rate. And sure enough, he does. Clears him easily at the apex. Charles Vaccaro is going to hold the inside line as well and hold off Alex Harrison. And 4 open class drivers in a row. Despite the fact that these open class cars are pretty competitive, you don't get to see this very often. There's usually a few professional meddlers in the way, I'd say. And fortunately for us, we're getting to see all 4 of these guys racing right wheel to wheel with each other today.
Taking some of those different lines that are possible around this track, either staying tight to the apex or making a bit of a diamond of the corner. Last lap was still over 59.4 for Ronnie Coates. So he's bringing these guys along at pace right now, leaving those drivers who pitted early relatively exposed. And as well with that long pit stop, James Newell's just also had a scruffy lap. Mm-hmm. And for a driver who was right up front in the early goings, the pack is... has its benefits, has its drawbacks, but the strength of the pack and the peloton really on show right now.
Lap 14 here. I wonder how much longer they're going to be able to go on fuel. Not pitting this time by the looks of things.
By all accounts, the top 8 is going long.
Yeah, you got to think they're going to run it till it's dry, but you also got to wonder how much fuel, Oh, big run here. Big run up the inside for Ray Lombardi. He passes second place, Eugenio Pellicci, and so does that's Zach Burke up the inside too. Canadian dive bombing into turn number 1, taking the spot away. And Eugenio Pellicci loses 2 spots going into the first turn.
It's a bit like some of the Formula E races I've seen where they're all saving, and then one person just goes, you know what, keeps their boot in and makes 2 or 3 passes, and then maybe, you know, their energy comes back to haunt them on that. Not dissimilar. Simon Foweather pitted from 9th. He took 14 seconds of fuel, the shortest we've seen so far, but still around about what we were expecting.
The 2 wide deep in the field. Charles Vaccaro is trying to hold off Alex Harrison and manages to. Harrison gives him lots of room going into the left-hander there at the Coca-Cola corner.
Interesting to note, Simon Foweather rejoining in front of Michael Chase, who at one point was the race leader, made that early stop, maybe ruining that decision at the moment, because you now see him behind Simon Foweather.
Yeah, Foweather's been a little deeper in the pack, that's for sure. Lap 15, speaking of the lead pack, they're coming around here, making that left-right combination. Nets corner into the Panasonic corner here before the big old front straightaway.
Got any favorite Panasonic products?
You know, I had a really good point-and-shoot camera back in the day when, you know, digital cameras were gray, boxy-like things, and another vintage little thing here, Eugenio Pellicci heading up into the pit lane.
He's going to try to navigate that while the rest of the field stay out. Ronnie Coates, Ray Lombardi, Zach Burke, David Barclay under some pressure there in 4th from Michael Coates. Otis Adams, what a great job he's had to catch back up to the leading pack, and with Mitchell Peak behind him.
It's given a race, you know, this track that feels almost like a hill climb in the Tour de France, you know. You get one guy that breaks away, and then a few guys that come along with him, and then drags them back, drags the rest of the peloton back up to him. It's been fun stuff so far. Andrew Gilliland's 2 wide going into the first turn. We've got Orlando Harrell trying to make a move around the outside, and that's not going to work out. He's going to be under threat now from Charles Vaccaro behind. Vaccaro very aggressively cuts the corner, and he and Harrell are going to be 2 wide. It's hard to go 2 wide here, though, through the Coca-Cola corner, and sure enough, Harrell takes the apex with authority, and 3 car lengths between himself and Vaccaro behind at the end of that.
Super long stop from Eugenio Pellicci at the moment. That car's still not rolling. Was he speeding on pit entry? Don't see a black flag, but if the stop ends up being about 56 seconds, then yes, he would have been speeding on pit entry. We'll wait and see. Oh, he was. He absolutely was. He gets going right now, and that is a costly error from Eugenio Pellicci. 40 seconds added to his pit stop for speeding on pit lane.
Oh, and that's a tough one. It, you know, it was the pre-race warning. It's a fast pit lane. It's a tricky pit lane. And Eugenio Pellicci's been caught out by that one. We'll see which of the other leaders do that this time, because all of them are coming to the pit lane now this time by. Oh, almost all of them. We got 2 going long. That's Michael Coates and Ray Lombardi going for an extra lap down the front straightaway. Meanwhile, we've got Ronnie Coates, Zach Burke, David Barclay, Otis Adam, Mitchell Peak, all hitting the pit lane. And I think the second pack's going to be coming in right behind them too.
Now, I thought every Grand Prix track had 50-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limits, but it's actually slower than that.
47.
Fuji, yeah. That's interesting.
37 even.
Yeah.
Seen some tires going on cars here. I don't think we've seen any of those yet. Ronnie Coates takes left sides. Otis Adams takes left sides. And all of them get going. A little bit of smoke.
Out of the lane in about the order we saw them go in. So Coates just ahead there. Zach Burke, Barclay trying to merge in behind Burke ahead of Peak, and they will as they get back out on track.
Ooh, we got
Simon Foweather, yeah, and Michael Chase. All right, okay.
So not quite as far back as we might have thought. Ronnie Coates has maybe 5 seconds on Michael Chase after that early stop. Maybe 5 seconds.
We've also had Andrew Gilliland, Charles Vaccaro, and Brian Jabelski pit. So here's some of the open class battle.
Ray Lombardi and Michael Coates are coming around the last few corners here, heading left and then right through the Panasonic corner, and we'll see them dive into the pit lane this time by, I gotta imagine.
I'd like on board on the pit entry with one of them, if I may make requests, because yeah, you got a long run down the straight here. They're already past 100 miles an hour, and like you say, 37 is the pit lane speed limit. We're doing 110, approaching 120, and then let's tap at the brake to make the chicane, and then yeah, I can see that just for the speed difference. That's a tricky pit entry. While it's definitely narrower than the wide open expanse that you get when you're trying to hit the speed limit at Daytona.
The last few open class cars are coming to the pit lane. Alex Harrison is actually ahead of Orlando Harrell now after what must have been a bit of an eventful last lap. Harrison slowing down, not quite as aggressive as our pro class drivers are. And he and Harrell are going to come to the pit lane this time. And Ronnie Coates coming by on the front straightaway. We'll see where he ends up relative to the likes of Michael Coates and Ray Lombardi, who are just pulling away, but critically exiting that pit lane at 37 miles an hour is going to put you at a pretty severe disadvantage as you see a couple cars flying by on the outside.
Yeah, they're all at speed there. Ray Lombardi makes it to the apex of turn 1, then Ronnie Coates comes around behind him. So with everyone having made their stop, 10 minutes to go in Spec-5 World Tour from Fuji Speedway, it is Ray Lombardi from Ronnie Coates from Otis Adams Jr. side by side in the back of shot there. Is that Camden Hibbett?
Yes,
no,
but
I was looking at Foweather. Sorry, I was looking at Foweather.
Okay.
Camden Hibbett is back here in 11th place now, having started from pit lane.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Kibbett's going to have to take another stop, though, here before the end, unfortunately. I'm not sure if he'll have the fuel he needs to get all the way. We'll see, though. I'm most curious about Ray Lombardi. He managed to get out of the pit stop real fast there. That was a 14.5-second stop for him. Most of the other guys are in the 16s, so I got to wonder if that's 15, 16. Otis took a 14-second stop too, so we'll see. Maybe this will work out.
Is it overcut on the guys that took left side tires and might have had a difficult outlap of warm-up?
Could be. Got to wonder how those left side tires are going to play here. We've only got 9 minutes left on the clock. These sprint races here in the Spec-5 series, they don't seem to do quite enough damage to the tires that there's a big advantage at the end of them, but you never know. Track keeps getting warmer too. We're up to 93 Fahrenheit. That's up almost 5 degrees since the start of the race.
Getting just a little toastier. These guys are a bit away from the leaders, so Mitchell Peak has a decision to make, and I think he's going to push Simon Foweather to see if they can try to catch some of the guys in front, and it's possible some of those that are out front of them that have just had some pretty short pit stops will still need to save some. So if you don't, and you can catch them, some cars that are 1 or 2 seconds up the road are definitely still within your sights, and then Peak looks to take the inside.
Yeah, 2 wide there for the lead, going into 1. And yeah, I did hear that right. Otis Adams is not just lifting and coasting into the corner, he's actually lifting and clutching in on the front straightaway to try and get that little bit of extra fuel save going into 1. Hearing him re-engage the gear in the braking zone, that's some technical driving right there. 2 wide, they're back deeper in the pack.
This is the open class lead right here. Alex Harrison has his nose ahead as he tries to sneak past Orlando Harrell and Andrew Gilliland. Harrell's going to try to strike back. He's on a very narrow line on the way in here.
Oh, it's tough to go 2 wide.
It is. It loses both of them time. Andrew Gilliland is trying to swoop all the way around the outside of both of them. That's not going to work. Harrison's got the short path.
Gilliland's got the fast path, though.
He'll just get ahead. Okay, here comes Charles Vaccaro to join them for the party of a 4-way fight for the open class lead once again.
Oh, wreck at the front. That's Ray Lombardi. Puts it sideways. Otis Adams in his door. And we'll see here. Oh, it's Ray just getting a little bit out of shape here, a little bit tight on the entry, tries to drift it wide, and when he taps the brake, the whole car just comes around on him. That's going to put some damage on Ray's car. That's going to put some damage on the nose of Otis's car, which is really critical down this straight. But the biggest thing of all, that's going to put 3 seconds between Ronnie Coates and the rest of the pack at the front.
And my timing says 3 laps to go, but I'm looking at their pace. I'm looking at the time on the clock, and it's 4 laps to go. If we're doing 2-minute lap times, and there's 6 minutes and just a tiny bit of change on the clock. Tough on fuel for some of the drivers. Some of them might need to save when we take the start of that final lap, and there's still 8 seconds on the clock.
Zach Burke makes a move on the front straight away, and we'll see if he's able to make one on the short straight here. They're going to be too wide going into the Coca-Cola corner too, but the Pro car is no better than to try and do it too wide. Burke holds the inside now and gets a little bit wide for the entry into 100R here. He's going to see if he can make that move stick on Michael Chase somewhere else.
Here we go. It's a rumble. It's a wrestling match. Andrew Gilliland's now gotten to the lead of open class. Orlando Herald behind. Comes across of Charles Vaccaro. Alex Harrison from the lead of this class not so long ago drops in line to 4th place as they go through turn 3, and it is not done yet.
Yeah, I think we'll be checking in on that one all the way. We'll probably be checking in on the battle for 2nd place in the Pro Class too. Otis Adams is barely holding off Michael Chase. It actually runs a bit wide there. I wonder if that'll get him a slowdown. He was way out there.
Somehow it won't, to my immense surprise, but it also didn't look especially quick. So this battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, now 3.5 seconds behind Ronnie Coates. And unless they form up as a 3-car bump train, which doesn't look like it's happening, they will struggle to catch him.
Yeah, and we're coming close to the line here, and we'll see when Ronnie Coates passes. He's coming down the straight for 30 remaining, for 20 remaining, as he crosses the line. So to me, it says two laps on our predictive deal. That could very well be 3, depending on how false.
Laps. It's quite simply got to be 3 more laps in this race. Back with the open class, Gilliland still leading from Herald, Vaccaro, Alex Harrison in 4th, looking forward at all of it. Seems Vaccaro's very close to Herald. Gilliland's going to look to break the slipstream. What about Vaccaro? Will he push? No, he pulls out of the slipstream on Orlando Herald. Interesting.
Only too wide going into that first turn. Managed to make it through cleanly, and there's still nose to tail. Zach Burke has run it wide coming out of the chicane there, the hairpin, heading into 300R here, and he managed to make the move work on Michael Chase going into 1, but Michael Chase is right there on his bumper, and I think he's going to dive it down. He dives it down the inside here into the Dunlop corner, and they're all parking it on the apex. Burke is trying to get a run, but there's nowhere to go with that big fat Miata front in front of you.
No one has ever said big fat Miata before in the history of the world, but there you go.
When Michael Chase drives it, it's a big fat Miata. That's what's happening there.
Ask yourself, is the chase better than the catch? But it's a 4-second lead. More fishtails from Otis Adams Jr. there. Ronnie Coates is really building out a lead through all of this. So 4.5 seconds now, and breaking away from the dueling drivers, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Simon Foweather is collecting a train in 5th, with Mitchell Peake, David Barkley, and a recovering Ray Lombardi as well. They're all going to come across the start-finish line now, not see a white flag, and maybe some of them will realize how much more lifting and coasting they've got to do.
Michael Chase is getting bumps and then changes lanes as they come to the braking zones from Zach Burke.
Andrew Gilliland leads the open class train. Charles Vaccaro closing in. Harrison now up to 3rd as Herald has dropped back to 4th in this class. Here comes Vaccaro. to the inside on Andrew Gilliland. Again, this group of drivers now seeing no white flag. From third in the pack, Harrison has a lane change and he rolls out of the gas. He'll still be to the inside of Gilliland though. Tight line there. Tight line, tight exit. Seems to give good traction from that corner.
Yeah, it seems like all the tires are giving up a little bit, but that part of the track does seem to be a little grippier than the rest. They're battling back up at the front too. Otis Adams is really putting some pressure on Zach Burke now, as Michael Chase has managed to break away a little bit through the early part of the lap.
Battles everywhere, as is right for the end of the race. 1 minute left on the clock. White flag next time the leader crosses the start-finish line. Ronnie Coates' lead is evaporating here. I think he's got to save a bit. It's down to 3.6 seconds. Gee, I wonder if maybe there's another story yet to be written here at Fuji International Speedway.
If he lifts hard enough, will he get a checkered flag without a white?
No.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if he knows that.
There are many places you could be looking on the final lap. You could be looking at HJBC.live as well, because there is front to rear bumper contact being made between the open class leaders as the outright leader takes the start of the final lap. One more lap of Fuji Speedway. He's looking good to manage that gap for the race win. There is no gap to manage for Charles Vaccaro.
Oh, and they're too wide. So many different places. Simon Foweather's losing a spot here to Mitchell Peak going into the first turn. Peak's holding Foweather out wide to dry. That's for 5th place. The top spot seems to be all but locked up unless Ronnie Coates runs this thing out of fuel. But Otis Adams and Zach Burke are still fighting, and we're watching Andrew Gilliland on the straightaway as he pulls over to the right-hand side, following the likes of Charles Vaccaro across the line.
Foweather had the shortest stop of everyone, and he is mega saving right now, losing heaps of positions as we go. Wonder if that'll happen, or a cough or a splutter to any of our other competitors. Vaccaro down the inside on such a tight line, but he's parked it. He's absolutely parked it. He's foxed them both. Gilliland and Alex Harrison can go nowhere. They couldn't over-under him. They couldn't go around him. They couldn't go through it. And now they're side by side with a big squeeze through the left-hander. Pushing Vaccaro out way wide. No slowdown for him there. So he'll hold the inside for this long right-hander. They're fighting for the final podium spot as well.
And Zach Burke manages to make the move work around the outside of Otis Adams. And again, from the outside, using that leverage to force Otis Adams into these tight, uncomfortable lines. We'll see if he's able to hold it. It's always awkward through here. And he makes it work back across. Meanwhile, at the front, Ronnie Coates is taking the final corner, and barring a sputter, he's going to take that thing all the way to the start-finish line.
Vaccaro and Gilliland just door-banged for the race lead in open class as well, but Barney has the checkered flag in hand at Fuji for a crazy Spec-5 World Tour race. Ronnie Coates will go ahead and take it. What about behind? Michael Chase doing everything he can, stealing Joseph Newgarden's tricks to try to break the toe on the final lap. Michael Chase and Zach Burke will complete the podium. If Zach Burke can hold on, I think he has. He has indeed. Different lines through the final corner for the open class leaders here as well. Oh no, Vaccaro spins out a second. He was trying to take a tight line underneath Gilliland. He's spun out of a podium in open class. He'll get it going, and an immense amount of pressure. A fantastic battle, thoroughly entertaining. Unless that car runs out of fuel now, Andrew Gilliland will cross the checkered flag for the win in open class from Alex Harrison and Orlando Herald.
And speaking of running out of fuel, Simon Foweather ran out of fuel on the final straight there and dragged the thing across the line, managed to coast downhill all the way. Sean Hayes coming to the line now after a pretty solid opening to the race, finishing 19th place. Charles Vaccaro parks it actually before the start-finish line. Is that after?
That's
Must have been.
Where Barney is. You got to look where Barney is.
Yeah, I lost track of him. And coming down the straightaway now, we got Gareth Brocklesby, who is spluttering along. And that is a car that is out of fuel as well. And only one other car on the track behind him, Matthew White, coming down and looking like he's full of fuel. So we'll see. Gareth pulling into the pit lane here. And I think that he will passes the start-finish line in time to lock up 21st place and 22nd place, last finishing racer of our race today, Matthew White, in what is, I believe, if not his first start, definitely his first season here with the Spec-5 racing series. That was a fun one.
Yeah, Club Illinois, and you can maybe guess what part of Illinois from the livery there. Taking a look at the finishing results from an incredibly chaotic Fuji Speedway Spec-5 World Tour race, Ronnie Coates played the first half to perfection, and then in the second half went ahead with the race lead. Michael Chase and Zach Burke complete the podium, Otis Adams Jr. behind, then Mitchell Peake, David Barkley, Ray Lombardi, Michael Coates, James Newell, and Simon Foweather coasting it to 10th, ahead of Camden Hibbert, who had troubles on the formation lap and had to start from the pit lane. Geordie Fike, Alex Theologus, Rui Coimbra, and Brian Schabelski ahead of a really, really riveting four-way fight for the open class victory. Andrew Gilliland victorious from Alex Harrison, Orlando Harrell, Charles Vaccaro. Amongst them, Sean Hayes, and then Gareth Brocklesby, Matthew White, and Eugenio Pellicci, a retirement.
Oh, and they put on a show for us tonight, didn't they? There was, 16 different pit strategies and a million different drafts and passes and overtakes. What a good race for us there. And we'll see if we find any of our drivers. We had a bit of a hard time finding some of our drivers for the interviews after the last one.
I think I can see basically all of them. So I am going to nab third place, if I may. So with the long-range steal, I grab Zach Burke, third place finisher in Pro. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Really hard-fought battle towards the end there. Bit of fuel saving going on, and you come away with a nice little podium.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been out, so we're super happy with that result, and it was a ton of fun racing with these guys, and everyone was very well behaved, so super appreciate that, and yeah, I had a great time.
Congratulations to you. We'll see you for future races, the Spec-5 World Tour on the podium, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, guys.
Hopefully I put Zach Burke back where I found him. Second place, Michael Chase from the Pro class is with Devon.
Michael, you had a heck of a race there and a heck of a battle down towards the end. What were the thoughts going through your mind as you're coming into the final laps there?
I wanted my gas to last as long as possible. I think I started sputtering 100 yards or so before the line, so I wasn't sure how it was going to end that way. Yeah, a little action in front. Ronnie got away from us a little bit, but it was a really enjoyable race.
Yeah, it looked like you folks were having a lot of fun slicing and dicing around Fuji. Is it your first time doing an official race here?
I think I did a league race, a different league a couple years ago with the Toyota GR86, but yeah, basically the first one here. I've never done any officials on it.
Well, it looked like you were pretty well situated and feeling pretty comfortable out there. A strong finish here in the second one after a bit of a disappointment there in the first one. You aiming to drop that first race and go for the championship this season?
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Let's drop that thing.
Sounds good. Well, props to you. Anyone you need to shout out tonight?
Thanks to my crew chief, my son Austin joined us, so I was able to work through the strategy a little bit, which always helps.
Excellent, and it definitely made a difference today. Well, thank you very much.
All right, have a good night.
There we go. Should also be able to get our race winner. Yes, from Pro class. I said in the early part of the race, my dark horse is Ronnie in fifth. What was your thought process at that point in the race?
Oh, you know what? I was sort of happy when a few people pitted early. I was really thinking it gave me a little bit of an opportunity to draft back up and just pick up a little bit of time there. And I was hoping for a good pit stop. You know, I had been saving just a little bit of fuel, and seemed to help. Seemed like I had a pretty good pit stop and made up some time. I was so surprised when I came out of the pits and I'm looking around going, I'm thinking, where is everybody? It's like the next lap around, where is everybody? And Ray did come out right in front. Like, hey, where's everybody else? Like, that's it. I couldn't hardly believe it. So yeah, it's awesome.
And what was really close pack through the early part of the race, then they managed to drop away behind you, that little bit of contact, and then you're away free. Kind of, you were expecting that extra lap that the race went.
Yeah, I was completely good on fuel. It went just like I thought it would on fuel. So yeah, I didn't have any issues. I had about perfect. Had like a couple hundredths left or something, or extra.
Well, you're a previous champion. You've now got a win to your name. You just got to get a couple more wins and then drop the ones that aren't wins, and we'll see what happens come the end of the season.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's got a really good group of guys in here that are all great racers, and this is the kind of track I kind of like. I like where it's not all draft. It was interesting that the draft didn't really do as much as you'd think, especially when I was 4 or 5 cars back. It didn't do anything basically. But anyway, yeah, looking forward to next week, and big shout out to the Not a Team guys helping out with a little practice this week. So. And thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast.
You're in the rare club of race winners on the leap day. So print that one out and put it on your wall. Perhaps we'll see you in a week's time at Road Atlanta.
All right, sounds good. Later.
Ronnie Coates, Pro Class winner. We've got the Open Class winner around as well with Devin Peters.
Well, Andrew, it was dicey there through the second half of the race. You, Orlando, Alex, Charles, and you came out the winner.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Just had to kind of play your cards right and just hope that you come out without getting in contact with anybody and just trying to stay safe and play your race.
Coming into the final lap, you were behind Charles Vaccaro, and it certainly wasn't a done deal. What were you thinking as you were sort of planning your strategy for that final lap?
I mean, overall, I knew I had the pace through a couple of corners where I could catch him, so I kind of waited, was patient a little bit, set up my move, and then I lunged and ended up getting ahead a little bit. And then coming out of the final corner, I don't think if he would have spun, that I think it would have been a lot closer than it was coming to the line.
Coming down through 300R towards Dunlop, you and Charles had a little bit of a door bang. Any hard feelings there?
Not really. Just kind of, I was trying to squeeze him a tiny bit to the outside, just get him uncomfortable, make him kind of make a weird move to keep going. But I think it was all just a play to kind of get him all awkward and take advantage of that.
Looks like it worked out for you. Any worries for fuel in your race there?
Not really. Going for the long run, we were kind of safe there. I fueled up probably like 2 extra tenths of fuel, and then I was pretty safe on fuel there. I wasn't really paying attention at the end because I was so focused on the lead battle. But yeah, I was pretty good on fuel, I believe.
Well, nicely done. Second place last week, first place this week, and critically a couple positions between you and Orlando Harrell. Hoping to go for the big championship this season. Make your move up to pro next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done out there today. Anyone you need to shout out?
I'd like to first of all thank Aussie Sales and Heat Total Facility Solutions, and then I'd just like to thank Camden Hibbett for all the help throughout the seasons always, and the fuel strategies and all that. And then I'd like to thank my mom and dad for making everything possible. And yeah.
Great performance out there today. Wishing you well in the next one.
Yep, thank you.
Well, the youth revolution is taken over here in the open class, and we might have seen more Camden Hibbett in the pro class if it weren't for that early mistake.
Love this shot of the podium. It lets you know you're in Japan with the Sake Connection sign underneath the podium. Ronnie Coates stands on the top there for the pro class with Andrew Gilliland, the winner in open class. Spec-5 World Tour continues in just a week's time. They go to Road Atlanta for what will undoubtedly be a very exciting race. You'll see it here on HJBC. Do subscribe, do follow. We look forward to bringing you more exciting sim racing action on this channel next up in a week's time.